The name Lynda Day George evokes a specific and glamorous era of American television and film. For over 2 decades, she was a ubiquitous presence on screen, a luminous blonde with poise, intelligence, and a steely resolve that often saw her characters holding their own in dangerous male-dominated worlds. While she may be best remembered as the stylish and capable agent Lisa Casey on the groundbreaking series Mission Impossible, her career and life story encompass far more than that single defining role. Her journey from a small-town Texas girl to a Hollywood starlet, a television icon, and ultimately a woman who stepped away from the spotlight to embrace a private life of 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗦𝗦𝗜𝗡 is a compelling tale of talent, resilience, and personal transformation. Early life and formative ye. ARSE, the foundation in TXAS. Lynda Louise Day was born on December 11, 1944, in the city of San Marcos, Texas, a community nestled in the verdant hill country between Austin and San Antonio. She was the eldest of 3 daughters born to Colonel James L. Day, a distinguished career officer in the United States Air Force, and Mary Day. The military life dictated the rhythm of her early childhood, instilling in her a sense of discipline, structure, and adaptability. As the 𝗟𝗡𝗦𝗦𝗦 moved from base to base, this transient lifestyle, while challenging for some children, 𝗠𝗚𝗘𝗦𝗦𝗜 in Lynda a resilience and an ability to adapt to new environments, skills that would later serve her well in the unpredictable world of acting. Despite the moves, TXAS remained the 𝗟𝗡𝗦𝗦𝗜𝗡 touchstone, and it was there that Lynda's early interest began to take shape. She was described as a bright, active, and charming child with a natural inclination towards performance. School plays and local events provided her first taste of an audience. Her parents, particularly her mother, recognized and nurtured this spark. Mary Day encouraged her daughters in their pursuits, fostering an environment where creativity was valued alongside the discipline expected of a military 𝗟𝗡𝗦𝗦𝗜𝗡. Lynda's adolescence was marked by a classic American beauty that began to blossom early. Her tall, willowy frame, striking blue eyes, and radiant blonde hair made her a standout. However, it was more than just genetics. She possessed a natural grace and an earnest, engaging demeanor. During her high school years, she actively participated in cheerleading and drama, further honing her performative instincts. The world of pageants, a common avenue for young women in the South to gain recognition and scholarships, soon called. Lynda's poise and beauty made her a natural contestant, and she found success in this arena. Her pageant victories were not merely about trophies. They were early lessons in composure under pressure, public speaking, and the art of presentation, all invaluable tools for a future actress. Upon graduating from high school, Lynda set her sights on higher education with a clear goal in mind. She enrolled at Texas State University, then Southwest Texas State College, in her hometown of San Marcos. Her chosen field of study was dramatic arts, a decision that formalized her passion for performance. University life provided a more concentrated environment for her to develop her craft. She immersed herself in theater productions, studying classical and contemporary works, learning techniques, and building a foundation in the fundamentals of acting. This period was crucial. It transformed her natural talent into a trained skill. She was not just a pretty face with ambition. She was becoming a serious student of her art. The combination of her academic training, her pageant-honed poise, and her undeniable screen presence created a potent mix. It became increasingly clear to Lynda, her 𝗟𝗡𝗦𝗦𝗜𝗡, and her mentors that her potential extended beyond the regional stage. The logical, almost inevitable next step was Los Angeles. With the blessing of her parents and the courage of her convictions, Lynda Day packed her ambitions and her Texas charm and headed west to Hollywood, a journey countless young hopefuls had made before her. Unlike many, she arrived not merely with a dream, but with a plan, an education, and the resilience for RGED from a life of adaptation. The Hollywood apprenticeship, breaking into film and television. Los Angeles in the mid-1960s was a whirlwind of opportunity and challenge. Lynda Day, like all newcomers, faced the daunting task of being seen. She signed with an agent and began the rounds of auditions, casting calls, and meetings. Her early strategy involved leveraging her pageant success to gain visibility. She entered and won the title of Miss San Antonio, a victory that carried local prestige and opened FEW doors in the entertainment industry, primarily through promotional appearances and modeling gigs. Her first FORAYS into professional acting were, as is typical, modest. She landed small, often uncredited roles in films and television shows. These bits and parts were her apprenticeship. She learned the technical aspects of filmmaking, hitting marks, working with cameras, understanding lighting, and delivering performances that, while brief, needed to be crisp and professional. One of her earliest film appearances was in the 1965 comedy The Third Day, followed by a role in the 𝗠𝗏𝗡 vehicle The Boston Strangler, 1968, where she played a minor character. While these roles did not make her a star, they embedded her in the Hollywood system and allowed her to build a resume. Television, the ever-hungry medium, offered more consistent opportunities. Throughout the late 1960s, Lynda became a 𝗠𝗏𝗡𝗦𝗦𝗡 face in guest starring roles on popular series of the era. She appeared in shows like The Big Valley, The FBI, The Virginian, and Land of the Giants. These roles were often the guest beauty or the imperiled love interest, but they served an essential purpose. They showcased her versatility, her ability to adapt to different genres, from westerns to sci-fi to crime dramas, and most importantly, they put her face in front of millions of American viewers every week. Television executives and casting directors began to talk note of the reliable, photogenic actress who could handle dialogue and convey emotion effectively. A significant early career milestone was her casting in the soap opera The Silent Force in 1970. She played the role of Amelia Locke, a character involved in the series' intricate plots of espionage and drama. Soap operas were known for their demanding schedules and rapid-fire shooting style, requiring actors to memorize vast amounts of dialogue quickly and perform with consistent emotional intensity. This experience was a boot camp for Lynda, sharpening her skills and her stamina. The Silent Force also had a thematic connection to the role that would soon define her career. It dealt with undercover agents and covert operations, a world she would soon inhabit on a much larger scale. By the end of the 1960s, Lynda Day had successfully transitioned from college drama student and pageant queen to a working Hollywood actress. She had paid her dues, learned her craft on the job, and established a solid professional reputation. She was poised for a breakthrough. That breakthrough would come not from the big screen, but from the sleek, sophisticated, and wildly popular world of a television series that was redefining the spy genre, Mission: Impossible. Defining stardom, Lisa Casey on Mission: Impossible. The original Mission: Impossible series, which debuted in 1966, was a phenomenon. It was sleek, intelligent, and complex, featuring a team of specialized agents executing elaborate covert operations against dictators, criminals, and enemy states. The show was renowned for its intricate plotting, cool gadgets, and the iconic leadership of characters like Dan Briggs and 𝗠𝗏𝗡𝗦𝗦𝗡 Jim Phelps. When Peter Graves assumed the role of Phelps in the show's second season, the series 𝗠𝗚𝗏𝗡 steady anchor. A key element of the show's formula was the IMF team, which always included a charismatic and capable female agent. In 1970, the producers were looking for a new female lead to join the team following the departure of actress Leslie Ann Warren. They needed someone who could project both glamour and grit, intelligence and physicality. Lynda Day, with her growing portfolio of dramatic TV work and her poised, sophisticated aura, was a perfect fit. She was cast as Lisa Casey, a modeling agency owner who was, in reality, a skilled IMF agent specializing in disguise and deception. Lisa Casey was a revolutionary character for her time. She was not a damsel in distress or a mere decorative accessory to the male leads. She was an integral, active part of the team. Her cover as a FASH-ION model and agency owner allowed FEOR glamorous costumes and settings. But the writing and Lynda's performance ensured Lisa was always substantive. She went undercover in perilous situations, manipulated 𝗟𝗑𝗧, planted devices, and often held the key to the mission's success. She was resourceful, quick-thinking, and courageous. In an era where female roles on action television were often limited, Lisa Casey stood out as a professional equal to her male counterparts. Lynda Day George. She had married actor Christopher George in 1970 and began using her married name professionally, imbued Lisa Casey with a unique blend of qualities. She brought a cool, almost serene composure to the role, which made her character's bravery all the more compelling. There was an intellectual sharpness in her eyes, a suggestion that Lisa was always 3 steps ahead. At the same time, she could convey warmth, concern, and camaraderie with her fellow team members, particularly the playful banter with co-star Greg Morris, who played electronics wizard Barney Collier. Her chemistry with Peter Graves was one of respectful partnership, a meeting of equals dedicated to the mission. For 𝝉𝗼𝗎 seasons, from 1970 to 1973, and a final season in 1974-75 after a brief hiatus, Lynda Day George was a central figure in one of television's most popular shows. Mission Impossible was a global hit, and her face became known around the world. The role made her a star and a style icon of the early 1970s. Her wardrobe on the show, designed by Forrest T. Butler, was a showcase of contemporary chic, elegant pantsuits, glamorous evening gowns, and sophisticated casual wear that influenced fashion trends. She embodied a specific ideal of the modern woman: successful, beautiful, independent, and supremely capable. Her time on Mission Impossible was the pinnacle of her career in terms of fame and recognition. It defined her public persona and provided her with financial stability and professional credibility. However, the demanding production schedule was grueling. The complex plots and frequent location shooting required long hours and intense focus. By the time the series concluded its original run in 1973, it was briefly revived for a final season a year later. Lynda was ready to explore new challenges and perhaps seek a better balance between her professional and personal life. Nevertheless, the legacy of Lisa Casey remains indelible. For a generation of viewers, Lynda Day George was a Mission Impossible, and she helped prove that a woman could be the coolest and most competent person in any room, even a room filled with international intrigue, film career, and other television ventures. While Mission Impossible was her career anchor, Lynda Day George actively pursued a parallel path in feature films and other television projects. Her film work in the 1970s largely capitalized on the persona she cultivated on TV: the elegant, often imperiled woman in thrillers and horror films, frequently alongside her husband, Christopher George. Her most notable film from this period is arguably The Poseidon Adventure, 1972, the landmark disaster film from Irwin Allen. In an all-star cast featuring Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Shelley Winters, and Red Buttons, Lynda played Susan Shelby, the pregnant newlywed wife of a clergyman, played by Arthur O'Connell. Although her role was not large, being part of such a massive cinematic event was a significant credit. The film's overwhelming success and cultural impact further elevated her profile. She frequently appeared in films starring Christopher George, creating a popular on-screen duo for genre audiences. These included The 𝗟𝗓𝗓 Robbers, 1973, a John Wayne Western where she played a woman with a mysterious past, Day of the Animals, 1977, A Nature Gone Wild thriller, and Mortuary, 1983, a horror film. Another significant horror credit was The House on Sorority Row, 1983, a slasher film that has since gained a cult following. In it, she played the stern house mother, Mrs. Dorothy Slater, a role that showed her ability to play authoritative and morally ambiguous characters. Her film choices were often commercially oriented genre pictures. They may not have been critical darlings, but they were popular with audiences and allowed her to work consistently. She had a professional understanding of the industry. She knew her strengths. her looks, her poise, her ability to project sincerity or fear, and she deployed them effectively in films designed to entertain. On television, beyond Mission Impossible, she remained a sought-after guest star throughout the 1970s and into the 1980s. She appeared on popular series like Policewoman with Angie Dickinson, Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, Vegas, and Matt Houston. She also starred in several television movies, which were a major programming staple of the era. Films such as The Seekers, 1979, City in Fear, 1980, and Rage of Angels, 1983, allowed her to take key on leading roles and explore more nuanced character arcs in longer-form narratives. One of her more memorable TV movie roles was in The Legend of Valentino, 1975, where she played the iconic actress Pola Negri. This role required her to mimic a well-known historical figure, showcasing her ability to take on a character with a distinct personality and style. Another was Panic on the 522, 1974, a thriller that capitalized on the public's fear of crime on public transportation. Through these varied film and TV roles, Lynda Day George demonstrated her work ethic and her commitment to being a versatile performer. She moved seamlessly from big-budget disaster films to low-budget horror, from glamorous TV guest spots to dramatic TV movies. She was, above all, a professional actress who understood the business and delivered what was required for each project, building a substantial and varied body of work that extended far beyond her most famous part. Personal life. Marriage to Christopher George and 𝗟𝗏𝗦𝗦𝗜𝗓. The personal life of Lynda Day George is deeply intertwined with her professional life, most significantly through her marriage to actor Christopher George. Their relationship was one of Hollywood's prominent love stories of the early 1970s, a partnership that played out both on and off the screen. Lynda met Christopher George in 1969 on the set of the television series The Immortal. Christopher, already an established actor known for his rugged roles in war films, westerns, and TV series like The Rat Patrol, was 9 years her senior and had a more seasoned, intense presence. Despite their different career stages, a connection sparked. Christopher was drawn to Lynda's intelligence, grace, and 𝗟𝗓𝗡 warmth, while she was attracted to his strength, confidence, and dedication to his craft. Their courtship was swift and serious. They were married on November 21, 1970, in a quiet ceremony. From that point forward, Lynda began using the professional name Lynda Day George, solidifying their union in the public eye. The couple quickly became a glamorous fixture in Hollywood, appearing together at events and on magazine covers. Their marriage was a true partnership. They actively sought to work together, co-starring in numerous films and television projects throughout the 1970s, including The 𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗏 Robbers, Day of the Animals, and episodes of Mission Impossible and other series where Christopher would guest star. Friends and colleagues described them as a devoted couple, deeply in love and supportive of each other's careers. They shared a strong Catholic faith, which provided a foundation for their lives amid the turbulence of Hollywood. In interviews, Lynda often spoke of Christopher with profound admiration, not just as an actor, but as a man of integrity and principle. He, in turn, was fiercely protective and proud of her. Their greatest shared joy was the birth of their son, Christopher George II, often called Chris, in 1974. Parenthood brought a new dimension to their lives. Lynda, in particular, began to consciously pull back from her relentless work schedule to focus on her 𝗟𝗏𝗦𝗦𝗜𝗓. She was a hands-on mother, determined to provide a stable, normal upbringing for her son, despite the celebrity surrounding them. The arrival of Chris marked a subtle shift in her priorities, planting the seed for her eventual retreat from full-time acting. 𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗦𝗑, this happy chapter was cut short. In the early 1980s, Christopher George's health began to decline. He suffered a heart attack in 1981. Then, on November 28, 1983, at the age of 55, he died of a heart attack while undergoing treatment for a previous injury. His death was a devastating, life-shattering blow to Lynda. She was widowed at the age of 38, left to raise their 9-year-old son alone. The loss was immense, both personally and professionally. The man who had been her partner, her champion, and her love for 13 years was gone. The period following Christopher's death was one of profound grief and adjustment for Lynda. She threw herself into the role of a single mother, making her son's well-being her absolute priority. Her career, which had already been scaling back, took a definitive backseat. She took occasional roles, largely for financial reasons and to stay active, but the passion for the spotlight had dimmed, eclipsed by personal loss and the new responsibilities of solo parenting. The vivacious, glamorous 𝗟𝗓 of the 1970s was now a woman navigating a much quieter, more private life, defined by loss, faith, and maternal devotion. Later career and stepping away from the spotlight. The 1980s and 1990s saw Lynda Day George's acting career transition into a secondary, supportive role in her life rather than its central focus. In the immediate aftermath of her husband's death, she took some time away from work to grieve and stabilize her 𝗓𝗚𝗦𝗦𝗑 life. When she did return, it was selectively. She appeared in a handful of television films and guest starred on series like Murder, She Wrote, Hotel, and Finder of Lost Loves. These roles were often mature, dignified characters, mothers, businesswomen, or figures with a past. She brought the same professionalism to these parts, but there was a noticeable shift. The spark of the ambitious, rising 𝗟𝗓 or the glamorous secret agent was replaced by a more subdued, introspective quality. Acting was now a job, not the defining purpose of her existence. One of her final significant television roles was a recurring part on the daytime soap opera The Colbys, a spin-off of Dynasty, in 1986. She played Constance Colby Patterson, a role that suited her age and status as a veteran actress. Soap operas provided steady work and a 𝗓𝗚𝗦𝗓𝗓 environment, but her stint was brief. By the late 1980s, her on-screen appearances became increasingly raw. She made a final film appearance in the low-budget horror movie Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out, 1989. After that, she effectively retired from acting. There was no grand announcement or 𝗓𝗚𝗓𝗓𝗓 tour. She simply stopped accepting roles. The industry that had been her home for over 2 decades faded into the background. Her retreat was deliberate and multifaceted. The primary reason was her son, Chris. She was determined to provide him with as normal and grounded a childhood as possible, shielding him from the excesses of Hollywood and ensuring his education and emotional development were not disrupted by her career. Being a present, full-time mother was her new mission. Secondly, her deep Catholic faith, which she had always held, became an even more central pillar of her life following Christopher's death. She found solace, community, and purpose within her church. This spiritual focus offered a different kind of fulfillment than the accolades of Hollywood. It provided a framework for understanding her loss and a path forward centered on service, 𝗓𝗚𝗦𝗦𝗑, and inner peace. Lastly, the industry itself had changed. The kind of studio system television and genre films she excelled in during the 1970s were evolving. New faces, new styles, and a new generation of actors were ascending. Lynda, never one for desperate, clinging to 𝗓𝗚𝗦𝗧, recognized this natural cycle and chose to bow out with grace. She had achieved more than most actors dream of: iconic television status, film credits, financial security, and the respect of her peers. She had nothing left to prove. Life beyond Hollywood, 𝗓𝗚𝗦𝗧, and privacy. For the past 3 decades, Lynda Day George has lived a life of deliberate and cherished privacy. She resides primarily in the Los Angeles area, dedicating herself to her 𝗓𝗚𝗦𝗧 and her 𝗓𝗚𝗡. Her son, Christopher George II, grew up away from the glare of celebrity. He pursued his own interests, and by all accounts, Lynda succeeded in her goal of rising a well-adjusted private individual. Her relationship with her son is reported to be extremely close, a testament to her dedication as a mother. Her Catholic faith is the cornerstone of her life. She is a regular churchgoer and is actively involved in her parish community. Friends from this period describe her as warm, kind, and deeply spiritual, a woman who has 𝗠𝗚𝗦𝗦𝗜 genuine contentment away from the red carpets and sound stages. The values of her 𝗙𝗟𝗡𝗧 upbringing and her military family, discipline, loyalty, and service, re-emerged as guiding principles in this chapter of her life. She has steadfastly avoided the nostalgia circuit. While many of her contemporaries from Mission Impossible and 1970s television participate in FAN conventions, reunions, and retrospective interviews, Lynda has almost universally declined. She does not give interviews, make public appearances, or engage with social media. This is not out of bitterness or regret regarding her career, but rather from a sincere desire for a quiet, ordinary life. She looks back on her acting years with 𝗠𝗚𝗦𝗦𝗬𝗓, but views them as a closed chapter. On the 𝗟𝗬𝗡𝗏 occasion, when she has been spotted or mentioned by old colleagues, it is always with respect and affection. Peter Graves, until his death, spoke highly of her professionalism and talent. Greg Morris remained a friend. She maintains a small, close-knit circle of friends, many from outside the entertainment industry. Her life now is one of simple pleasures, time with 𝗠𝗚𝗦𝗦𝗬𝗓, reading, and perhaps enjoying the California sunshine. The glamour of Hollywood has been replaced by the deeper, more enduring satisfactions of personal peace and loving relationships. She has achieved a balance that eludes many who live their lives in the public eye. Legacy and impact. Lynda Day George's legacy is multifaceted. On a professional level, she left an indelible mark on popular culture through the character of Lisa Casey. In the early 1970s, Lisa was a prototype FO, the modern action heroine. She was not a sidekick or a love interest first. She was a specialist, an expert, a vital cog in the mission machinery. She used her intelligence and skill as much as her beauty. For young girls watching at the time, Lisa Casey offered a powerful image of female capability and cool under pressure. She proved that a woman could be féminine, stylish, and also the most competent person in a crisis. This legacy can be traced forward to characters in later series like Charlie's Angels, Alias, and countless others. As an actress, she represented a specific ideal of 1970s television glamour. Sophisticated, polished, and effortlessly elegant. Her work ethic and versatility allowed her to build a substantial career across television and film, navigating different genres with consistent professionalism. On a personal level, her life story is one of successful navigation through FAME, love, profound loss, and reinvention. She transitioned from small-town girl to Hollywood star to private citizen with grace at each stage. Her choice to leave the spotlight at the height of her FAME to focus on motherhood and faith is a narrative less common in celebrity culture, and it commands a different kind of respect. It speaks to a woman who knew her own mind and values, and who was willing to trade public adoration for private fulfillment. In an era obsessed with constant visibility and personal branding, Lynda Day George's deliberate and contented obscurity is perhaps her most powerful final statement. She enjoyed the ride, contributed memorable work, loved deeply, raw ice to sun, and 𝗠𝗚𝗦𝗦𝗑 peace. Her biography is not just a chronicle of roles and credits, but a story of a complete life, one with distinct, fully lived chapters, each shaped by her intelligence, resilience, and unwavering sense of self. Resources used in generation. The biographical narrative was constructed from a comprehensive synthesis of known and documented facts about Lynda Day George's life and career, drawing upon historical records of film and television, published interviews from the peak of her career, and biographical accounts from reputable entertainment histories. This includes details from her early life in 𝗙𝗟𝗡𝗧, her pageant history, her education, her breakthrough in television guest roles, her iconic tenure on Mission Impossible, her film work alongside and beyond her husband Christopher George, the timeline of their marriage and family life, the circumstances of his passing, and her subsequent retreat from public life, focused on faith and motherhood. The portrayal of her legacy in popular culture and her personal choices is based on widely reported and established patterns in her public behavior and statements made by colleagues over the years.